All right, let's dive into something a little different, a little festive today. We're going to unpack a really fun thought experiment. What if the entire North Pole operation, the whole shebang, ran on crypto? Let's get into it.
So let's just kick things off with the biggest question of all. What if that legendary list, the one he's famous for checking twice, wasn't some old paper scroll, but a secure, totally transparent, and unchangeable blockchain? That one little change, well, it unlocks a complete reimagining of Santa's entire world.
And we're not just talking about a digital list here, not by a long shot. We are talking about a full-blown DeFi gift-giving ecosystem. From the moment a good deed happens all the way to a gift landing under the tree, we're going to see how decentralized finance could power the entire operation.
Okay, so let's build this out piece by piece. And you have to start with the foundation, the absolute heart of the North Pole, the list itself. This is where we leap from old-school folklore into a future built on verifiable data. Okay, now check this out, because this is where it gets really interesting. On the left, you've got the old list. It's centralized. Only Santa gets to see it. It's prone to human error and, it's kind of based on hearsay. But then, look at the new ledger on the right. It's decentralized and transparent. It's immutable, meaning once a record is on there, nobody can mess with it. And it's all based on data you can actually verify. It's just a massive upgrade in fairness and accuracy. So you're probably wondering, how does this all work automatically? Well, the secret sauce here is something called a smart contract. Just think of it like a simple computer rule that says, if a child does a verifiable good deed, then automatically add a nice point to their record. It just happens. It completely automates the whole process, and not a single elf has to touch a piece of paperwork.
Of course, we gotta pause for a second here, because this brings up a huge question. A global database of every kid's behavior on a blockchain? That raises some massive ethical and privacy red flags, right? It's a really critical hurdle you'd have to figure out in a model like this, balancing that transparency with the absolute need for privacy.
Okay, so the list is sorted. Now, let's head into the workshop, where the real magic happens. This is where we're going to see how the gifts themselves get a serious high-tech upgrade. Get ready for this. Gift tokens. These are basically NFTs, or for the tech folks, ERC-721 tokens. What's so important about them is that each token is a totally unique digital certificate that's tied to one specific physical toy. It's literally a digital birth certificate for a teddy bear. It's how you prove that it's a real, authentic North Pole original. So here's how that whole journey would work. First, all the raw materials, the wood, the paint, the fabric, it all gets logged on the blockchain. Then an elf works their magic, crafts the toy, and attaches their own digital signature. Boom, a unique gift token is minted. It's created. And finally, that token is automatically sent over to the right kid's digital wallet, all based on that naughty or nice ledger. It's a completely traceable life story for every single toy. So why even bother with all this? Well, for starters, it guarantees authenticity. No more counterfeit gifts from shady workshops. It also creates a permanent public record of exactly when and where that toy was made. And you can even give direct credit to the specific elf who crafted it. We're talking total transparency from start to finish. All right, we have the list, we have the tokenized toys, but how in the world do they get delivered? Now we're going to look at maybe the most ambitious part of this whole plan: decentralizing the sleigh itself. I just love this quote from the source material. Instead of Santa managing every little detail, imagine a network where reindeers are staked, which is a DeFi term for locking up an asset to help run and secure the network. It is a wild but pretty fascinating way to think about optimizing global logistics. This whole network would be managed by a DAO, a decentralized autonomous organization. Now, that sounds super complicated, but really, it's just a community that's owned and run by its members. There's no single boss. In this scenario, the elves and the reindeer would all get to vote on how to manage the entire delivery fleet. And what would this sleigh DAO actually do? Well, pretty much everything. They'd manage the money for sleigh maintenance, use data to figure out the most efficient flight paths, set the welfare standards for the reindeer, super important, and even vote on whether they should get new, more advanced sleighs. And get this, it goes even deeper. A system like this could allow for fractional ownership. So an elf could own a little sleigh asset token, giving them a tiny piece of ownership in the main sleigh. Kind of like owning a stock in a company, but, way more festive. So when you put all of these pieces together, the ledger, the tokenized toys, the DAO-run sleighs, you end up with something much, much bigger. You get a whole new economy, a brand new elfonomy.
For instance, you could do a nice list airdrop. This would instantly send digital gifts or tokens directly into the crypto wallets of deserving people all over the world. It's direct, peer-to-peer giving on a massive scale with no intermediaries, no banks, no nothing.
And the vision just keeps expanding from there. You could have a charity DAO that pools unused gift tokens for good causes, or a governance token that lets the entire North Pole community vote on policies. You could even use decentralized identity so kids can securely manage their own gift history. The whole thing becomes a complete, self-sustaining system. And all of this, every single one of these incredible ideas, all stems from just one core concept. And this is why it matters, beyond just being a fun thought experiment. A system like this could really level the playing field. It could create a more inclusive global economy that empowers independent toy makers and small workshops everywhere, not just at the North Pole. It would foster a new kind of creative and economic freedom.
So we end on this final, pretty provocative thought. By building a system that's based on transparency, verifiability, and collective ownership, could a crypto sleigh actually redefine not just how we give gifts, but maybe even what it means to be generous and part of a global community?